So I know that due to social distancing, a lot of you probably haven't been able to see your youth group friends in a really long time. That sucks. Now, okay, granted, you could go to a park and all sit 6 feet apart, but you guys are yelling, there's bugs, it's probably gonna be hot or cold, and there's other people, and it's really just not that enjoyable. Now what you wanna do is download Zoom on your computer or phone. After the service, we're all gonna be hopping on, having a good time, chatting with each other, and it's just a really good way to get back connected into the Kairos community. Now, if you don't already have Zoom downloaded, you go to their website, zoom.com, and download it there. But if you do already have it downloaded, or you're going to download it, comment it down below and someone will have you taken care of. They'll send you a link, and I think that's it. You just hop on and have a good time.
Are you bored at home, just playing with your dogs? Well, you should join us for the Netflix watch parties on Thursday at 7. It's simple. All you have to do is download the Netflix Party Chrome plug in your computers. If you're having trouble, just look at the tutorial in the description. You should bring your dogs as well.
Baby, come give me something, oh. Baby, come give me something, oh. 'Cause I can't stop.
Hey everyone, my name is Thane Foster and I am the leader of our Lee Summit Kairos location. And in case you missed it, as of Easter, all 3 of our locations have come together with a shared name and a shared mission. And so our Lakewood Way location, our location in KCK called New Life, and our location in Olathe called Indian Creek have now all come together and are now all known as Hope Chapel. But coming together is more than just a new name that we all share. It's actually about sharing ministry, and we actually get to do that tonight. Here tonight as we have service, all 3 of our locations are represented here tonight as we watch together. And here now in just a moment, we're going to have students lead us in worship. And right after that, we're going to hear the word brought to us today by Alexa Murphy. I'm really excited to worship with you guys today, so let's get to it.
Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, worship His holy name, sing like never before, oh my soul, I'll worship Your holy name. The sun comes up, it's a new day dawning. It's time to sing your song again. Whatever may pass and whatever lies before me, let me be singing when the evening comes. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, worship His holy name, sing like never before, oh my soul, worship Your holy name. You're rich in love and You're slow to anger. Your name is great and Your heart is kind. For all Your goodness I will keep on singing. 10,000 reasons
and my time has come. Still my soul will sing your praise unending. 10,000 years and then forevermore. Forevermore. Bless the Lord, oh my soul. Oh, my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before. Oh, my soul. Worship your holy name. I will worship your holy name. Yes, I will worship your holy name. Yes, I'll worship you. I'll worship you. I'll worship you always. Yes, I will worship you. I will worship you. I will worship you always. Yes, I will worship you. I will worship you. I will worship you always. Yes, I will worship you. I will worship you. I will worship you always. Father, we're on our knees with every heartbeat. We bring you this offering. Lord, come and fill this place. Father, we're crying out. Spirit, we need you now. Glorious love surrounds us. Lord, come and fill this place. Lord, come and fill this place. Lord, come and fill this place.
What's up, everybody? For those of you who may not know me, my name is Alexa, and I'm from our Kairos KCK location, and we're jumping in to week 2 of Love Hate. How many of you guys have ever had a friend come up to you and be like, yo, you got a little bit of food in your teeth? They're like, hey man, you might want to check your zipper, like it's down, or like, hey, you got a little toothpaste on your face. I remember when I was in middle school, I loved me. I thought I was so great. And so one time I'm walking out of the bathroom, I'm walking through the lunchroom, and I just think I am just like the coolest person ever. And everyone is just like admiring me as I walk through this lunchroom. And I sit down with my friends and I start talking to my friend. She looks down at my feet and then she looks back up at me and she's like, you know that you have toilet paper on your shoe, right? And I definitely tried to play it off as if I did know that. I definitely tried to play it off as like, yes, I did that on purpose. Like, I just wanted to see if y'all were looking out. But actually, I was really embarrassed. I actually had no idea. And I felt like such a fool because I just walked through the lunchroom and everyone saw that. And I think it's always a little bit embarrassing when people point stuff like that out to you, but you're always thankful for it in the long run because you know it means that they're looking out for you. You know it means that people care. And as great as it is to have someone looking out for you, as great as it is that someone is willing to speak up and tell you those kinds of things, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to be the person doing the speaking up, to be the person doing the telling. And I think the bigger the issue, the more difficult it can become to speak up and call people out about, hey, like, this is what's going on. Like, telling a friend they got a little bit of spinach in their teeth, like, that's not that big of a deal. But telling a friend, hey, you know what? I'm actually very concerned about the relationship that you've gotten into. I'm really concerned about the person you're dating because I just don't know if that's healthy. I don't know if that's what's best for you. That's hard. That's a hard place to be, and that's a hard thing to speak up about. Or calling on a friend and saying, you know what? I'm really worried about the crowd that you have been spending time with. I'm worried about the people that you are allowing into your life. That's difficult to say. That's difficult to speak up on, or to speak up about something that your friend is doing and knowing that it could get them in trouble. Their parents could find out and it could really get them in a lot of trouble. That's a really difficult place to be. That's a hard position to be in. And I think calling people out, addressing people's recent actions and behaviors and decisions, that's really hard. And it gets so difficult and it's so uncomfortable that we get into this place of trying to talk ourselves out of it. We try to find an out and find a reason why we shouldn't say anything. And so we'll often say things like, you know what, like, I am concerned and I don't want them to be doing this, but I really care about this friendship and I don't want to make them mad. And if I say something, it could really end this friendship. It could really ruin things. And I like being friends with this person. And so, you know what, I'm just going to stay out of it. Or, you know what, I know this is wrong. I know they shouldn't be doing this. I know that this isn't healthy for them. But why would they even listen to me? Like, why would they care what I have to say? Like, they don't care about what I say. They don't care about what I think. So I'm just gonna stay out of it. Like, that's just best. Like, why waste my time? Or, you know what? I know this is wrong. I'm worried. I know this isn't what's best for them. But I don't even know what I would say. Like, I don't have the words. Where would I begin? I'm just not gonna have this conversation. Or, yeah, I know this is wrong and I'm worried and I'm fearful about the outcome. I know this isn't headed in a good direction, but it's not really my business. Like, who am I to get involved? Like, why would I get involved in their business? I'm just gonna stay out of it. Now, there are some of us that don't have an issue speaking up. Some of us are really blunt and honest and straightforward, and myself included sometimes. And while honesty and being straightforward, that can be a good thing sometimes. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you can be so honest or so straightforward or just so blunt that what you're saying, though it may be true, can be said in such a way that the person doesn't hear it. They don't value it. They don't care. They don't want to listen because the way it came across. And so things just kind of get frustrating because it's like, I'm speaking up, but they're not listening. But what if there was a way that we could have difficult conversations? We could call people out. We could speak truth, and something good would come of it. What if there was a helpful and gentle way for us to approach these conversations? What if there was a way that we could just handle these difficult situations in the best way possible, and something good and something kind and something beneficial would come out of it? Last week, Thane spoke to us about this idea of letting love be what we're all about. And I think that's an incredible concept. I think that's something that we should try to live out. Letting love be a characteristic, letting love be something that we're known for, that's a good thing. That's something I think we all can get behind, no matter where you stand with Jesus, no matter what you think about religion or Christianity. I think we all want to be known as Christians. We all want to be known as people who are kind, people who are loving, people who care. But when you bring in this idea of calling people out, of speaking up truth, and you pair that with being known as being loving, it can be a little bit tricky. Some would even say that's a contradictory thing to try to even do, because we live in a you do you society where everyone is right, everyone knows what's best for them, and it's rude or inconsiderate to challenge or question someone's decisions, someone's approach to life. And so we have adapted this approach of just being okay with what everyone does, because who are we to judge? But I think deep down, we know this isn't the best approach to have, especially when we see our friends and our family doing things that aren't right, when we see them doing things that are harmful to themselves or others. And so we ask ourselves, okay, what do I do? How do I handle these situations? There's a guy named Paul in the New Testament. He actually wrote quite a bit of it. And he talks about this very thing in a letter to a church in Galatia. Now, Galatia, if you're curious, is where Turkey is today. And so in Galatians 6, verse 1, Paul starts off and he says, "Dear brothers and sisters, if another believer is overcome by some sin, you who are godly should gently and humbly help that person get back on to the right path. And be careful not to fall into the same temptation yourself." Now, basically what Paul is saying here is that if one of your Christian friends, if they fall off track, if they start to fall into some sinful behavior, it is your responsibility as a fellow believer to come alongside them and help them get back on track. Now, what Paul is saying is that we need to care. We need to love the people around us well and help them onto a path that's going to point them towards Jesus. Now, Paul is saying a few things. Paul is not saying a few things here, and I want us to be clear about what he is not saying. Paul is not saying that you are solely responsible for making sure that all of your friends always make wise decisions. He's not saying that. He's also not saying that you should put yourself at risk or set yourself up for failure just to come alongside someone. While we want to come alongside our friends, while we want to care for them, we shouldn't put ourselves in a position to fall into sin ourselves. We absolutely always have to use wisdom in these moments. Paul does want us to understand, though, that with humility and with gentleness, that we can be people who come alongside people and help them get back on track, help them carry their burdens and get into a good, healthy space. Paul continues in verse 2, he says, "Share each other's burdens, and in this way obey the law of Christ." Now, the best way to help someone get back on the right path is to help them carry their burden. Think of it this way. Someone is trying to pick up a heavy box and they're struggling, and it's covered in paint and it's messy. I think oftentimes we'd be really tempted to maybe play cheerleader or coach, to just wish them well and go about our day and just kind of move on. But if we're really going to live this verse out, if we're really going to help them carry the burdens, we have to be willing to get in there and get messy. We have to be willing to embrace the mess. Bearing each other's burdens means getting close enough to people that you step into their mess. Now, I understand that it's not always going to be as simple as carrying a box. I understand that sometimes there's more layers to it. Sometimes there's more challenges. Sometimes we step in and it gets messier than anticipated. And I think sometimes it turns out that way because we often have the approach of, hey, you did this wrong. You're doing some stupid things. I don't like them and you need to stop. And it's not received well. They don't want to hear things like that. They don't like being told things like that. But what if we changed our approach. Like in living out this verse, in really helping carry the burden, if we just approached it a little bit differently and said, hey, you know what? I've noticed that you're not making the best decisions right now. I noticed that you're struggling a bit, and I've been there and I care about you. And so let me know if there's anything that I can do to help you. You're still saying the same thing. You're still telling them that they're not doing things that they should be doing, and they're not making good decisions, but you're doing it in a loving and encouraging way. You go from casting some judgment and some shame to bringing encouragement and hope. And we want to be people who bring hope. We want to bring good things. We don't want to make people feel ashamed. We don't want people to feel judged by us. Paul knew that the most loving thing to do isn't always the easiest. It's not always the most fun thing to do, but we owe it to each other to speak up and to show up. Because the truth is, we need each other, not just to point out the problem, but to come alongside each other and really help us get back on track, help each other get into the place that we should be. As Jesus followers, we must do more than just speak up. We have to embrace the mess. We have to be willing to carry the burden. We don't just point fingers, we carry burdens. Think of it this way. We've all been in class with that really annoying kid who always speaks up after someone gives the wrong answer, and they're like, actually, it's this, or actually, it's this way, or actually, I know more than you. And it's really annoying, and you're like, shut up. I don't want to be around you. Like, you are annoying. When we just point out the problem, when we just point fingers and tell people what they're doing wrong, and we don't really carry the burden, we don't do it in a loving way, we become that annoying kid, and that's not what we want. We don't want to be seen as that annoying kid who just always points out what's wrong and acts like a know-it-all. For those of you who are sitting here and you're like, you know what, I don't really struggle to call people out, and I am really okay with it. I'm comfortable doing this. Paul spoke to you as well. He made sure you weren't left out. In this verse, he said, we should be gentle and humble, meaning that what we say is just as important as how we say it. The loving thing to do isn't to make sure that we sound right and that we are arrogant and judgmental in our approach, but that we speak in a kind, helpful, encouraging way. That's how we express love in these moments. Now, having tough conversations with friends and family, it's not always fun, it's not always easy, but avoiding those conversations, that's not loving. And it's also not loving to approach those conversations with the intent or the desire to make people feel bad or look bad in front of others. While having tough conversations is important, and I know that's what we've been talking about, I want you to understand that's not always the most important thing. What's important is that we be people of love, that we really embody the love of Christ. And sometimes that does look like having difficult conversations. Sometimes that does look like carrying each other's burdens. Now, maybe you're watching this and you're sitting at home and you're thinking, okay, I want to be better at these tough conversations. I want to be better at carrying people's burdens. How do I do this? Well, if we're going to be people known for our love, if we're going to really adapt that approach that Thane talked about last week of letting love be what we're all about, then I think we also have to let love be our filter. And I think we're all familiar with filters. When you post a picture on Instagram, you're given a selection of filters, and you can either pick a filter that makes your picture look really good, or you can pick a filter that makes your picture look really bad. Now, we all want to pick a good filter. We want our picture to get the most likes. We want it to look good. We want it to be just a good picture. We want it to look nice. We don't want to pick the wrong filter. And I think we need to also be that way in our approach when we handle these conversations. We need to pick the right filter. And so how do we let love be our filter? Well, if you're taking notes, I want you to write these 3 things down. There are 3 filters that I think we need to have when we approach these difficult conversations, when we try to help carry each other's burdens. The first filter I want you to write down is to let love be the filter for your involvement. Now, when you apply this filter, when you step into this first step, you have to ask yourself a question. And that question is, what's the most loving thing I can do in this moment? What's the most loving thing I can do? And you really have to use this as a gut check. You're really asking yourself, is it beneficial for me to step in? Is it beneficial for me to even say anything? Am I doing this out of love? Am I doing this because I care about this person? Because I want what's best for this person and I want to see them in a good place? Or am I doing this because I'm right, I know I'm right, and I want them to know I'm right, and I want everyone else to know I'm right? And sometimes it's really difficult to determine, like, am I doing this for like my own gain, or am I doing this out of like pure love? And sometimes we have to bring in another person in this first step, but we have to be careful because it can easily become an opportunity to gossip. And so what I do when I'm really wrestling with this first step is I go to someone that I really trust. So maybe it's a small group leader, maybe it's a parent, maybe it's just a really trusted friend. And you just have to use wisdom in what you share. You don't always have to give all the details. You don't always have to say names. You really just need to express, like, I'm in a situation and I'm really trying to determine, do I say something or do I need to sit this one out? And you just have to use wisdom in what you say and make sure that you're also just bringing in this other person out of love, not to gossip, not to be mean, but you're doing this with the best intention and the best motives. Once you've determined like, okay, you know what, it is loving for me to get involved, it's loving for me to say something, then the second filter that I want you to write down, the second filter that we have to apply is let love be the filter for your words. And when you apply this, you have to ask yourself, how would I want someone to speak to me in this moment? How would I want them to speak to me? And what would I want them to say? Now, this isn't about making sure that you sound right and they sound wrong. This isn't really about addressing their wrongdoing and making them feel ashamed or anything like that. It's not about casting judgment. It's actually just really making sure that they feel loved and that they feel seen. And you're just really speaking words of hope and making sure that in this moment that you are bringing hope and you're speaking hope. You're not bringing judgment. You're not making people feel ashamed, and you're not making them feel bad. We have the power to be loving in this situation or to be discouraging. And we always want to be on the path of being loving. And so let love be the filter for your words and how you speak to these people. Once you figure that out, the third filter that I want you to write down, the third thing that we have to apply in these situations is let love be your filter for your actions and your reactions. And the question that you have to ask yourself here is, how would I want someone to live out their love if I were in this situation? Would I want them to have their phone ready in case I need to call them and just talk through some temptation or struggles that I'm dealing with? Would I want them to be willing to give me a ride in case I go spend time with people that I really shouldn't be with and I get myself into a tricky situation? Would I want them to bring in an adult, whether that's a parent or a teacher or a small group leader? Would I want them to just follow up with me and have conversations with me and just hold me accountable? What would I want in this situation? And I think it's also important to ask the person, what do you need? And then actually do it, actually follow through with what they need. See, when we let love be our filter, when we apply these things to our approach to these conversations and situations, we wind up sharing each other's burdens. We end up living out these verses in Galatians. Now, I understand that it might seem really difficult to apply this to your life right now. You're thinking you're stuck at home and you're with your family, and maybe you're thinking, like, my family is driving me insane. Like, I think they're just the craziest people. I don't know if I can go another day. They're driving me crazy. I get it. I understand what it's like to lose your patience and to be annoyed with family, but I want to challenge you to actually change your mindset and change your approach. I want you to actually practice this at home this week. Instead of pointing out every single thing that your dad does wrong and telling your mom like why she's the worst and just telling your siblings how annoying they are and pointing out every little thing that they do, instead of just pointing out flaws and things like that, what if we let love be our filter to our involvement, and we actually really took a step back and asked ourselves, is it beneficial for me to say something in this moment? Or am I doing this because I'm just really annoyed and I'm frustrated with them? And then once you determine that, what if you let love be the filter to your words, and instead of just pointing out why they are wrong, you actually decided to help them? And again, we're not going to have the approach of, hey, you're doing this and it's really driving me crazy and you need to stop. We had the approach of, hey, I noticed this is happening. I noticed you're struggling here. How can I help? What can I do? What do you need from me? And then what if we let love be the filter to our actions and reactions and actually did what they needed us to? We actually showed up and really just reacted and acted well and loving. Even if it's something as simple as doing your homework or spending time with your siblings and just not fighting, or cleaning your room, or unloading the dishwasher. Or maybe you do have a friend that you're thinking, okay, I actually do need to have a conversation with them. Or maybe I just need to recalibrate the tone and kind of restart the conversation that we've already started. I would challenge you, if you do have a friend, really apply these filters and kind of determine, is it going to be beneficial? Is it going to be loving to call them up or FaceTime them in the midst of the stay-home order? Is it best for me to just pray it out and wait until we can speak face-to-face once things are lifted? Let's be people who let love be our filter. Let's be people who live out this verse. Let's be people who come alongside people and carry each other's burdens. Let's be people who embrace the mess and carry the burden. If you have any prayer requests at all, whether it's regarding having a difficult conversation with a friend or a family member, or maybe you're just dealing with something at home and you just need prayer, or maybe you just have some questions about this whole Jesus thing, there's a link down below in the description box and it'll take you to a prayer request form, and you can just fill out that information and fill out the prayer request, and we'll be in contact with you if necessary. But let me pray for us. Father God, thank you that you are here, that you love us, and that you are just present even in our living rooms and in our bedrooms, God. God, I ask that you bring wisdom and you bring guidance to us as we approach difficult situations, as we approach challenging and hard conversations. God, I ask that you would guide us in letting love be our filter, that you would guide us in not just pointing out problems, but really helping carry burdens and helping people get back to the place that they need to be. It's in your name I pray. Amen.
Humble King, Holy One, friend of sinners, God's own Son, God in flesh among men. You walk my road, you understand. Servant King, friend to me, you saved my soul and washed my feet. And here I bow, I give all to you. Lord, I want to be like you. need is more of you, less of me. Take this life, Lord, it's yours. Have my heart, have it all. You can have it all. Come on, sing, I will walk. And I will walk in your ways, love your word, seek your face. My reward, my soul pursued, to know you more, to be like you. All I want, all I need, more of you, less of me. Take this life, Lord, it's yours. Have my heart, have it all. Jesus, have it all now. Jesus, Jesus, all I want is to be like you. Jesus, Jesus, all I want is to be like you. Jesus, Jesus, all I want is to be like you. Jesus, Jesus, all I want is to be. Come on, would you call upon his name now we sing? Jesus, Jesus, all I want is to be like you and you alone. Jesus, Jesus, all I want is to be like you. All I want, all I need is more of you, less of me. Take this life, Lord, it's yours. Have my heart, have it all. All I want, all I need is more of you, less of me. Take this life, Lord, it's yours. Have my heart, Jesus, have it all now. Jesus, Jesus, all I want is to be like you now. Jesus, Jesus, all I want is to be like you, is to be like you. To be like you, Jesus. To be like you.
Thank you so much for worshiping with us, Kairos. Let love be your filter. I want to remind you, if you have any prayer request whatsoever, we want to be praying for you as a leadership team and as our student prayer team. If you want to click on the link in the description so that we can pray for you during this season. Also, if during this service you decided to follow Jesus for the very first time, we want to know about that as well. We want to celebrate that as well, and we want to make sure that you're not doing this alone, and we'll get some resources to you to help you figure out what that looks like going forward. Now for you Kairos students, for those of you who are like part of the ministry and you are live with us right now, we are having Zoom groups right now. Hop on Zoom. If you did not get the Zoom link, or you are newer to Kairos and you're not sure if this is for you, please comment below or DM our Instagram, Kairos Students, and we will get you hooked up. Otherwise, thanks for worshiping with us. Have a great week.